Tonight's case is one of jealousy, obsession, and a tragic ending that no one saw coming. This is the story of 34-year-old Danielle Foster, a devoted mother of 3, a woman known for her kindness and relentless drive to give her children a better life. Danielle had worked 2 jobs to escape an abusive relationship with her longtime boyfriend, Marcus Hale, a man whose charm had a violent temper that few ever saw. When Danielle finally left Marcus, she thought she had broken free. She moved into a small townhouse on the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, worked nights as a nurse's aide, and spent every spare moment with her kids. Her friends said she seemed happier, lighter, like a weight had been lifted. But what Danielle didn't know was that Marcus was watching her every move. Marcus couldn't accept that Danielle had moved on. In his mind, she was his, and the idea of her being with anyone else sent him into a rage. He began showing up unannounced, leaving flowers on her porch, sending dozens of text messages late into the night. At first, Danielle ignored it, hoping he would eventually let go. But his behavior escalated. He began following her car, calling her job, and even showing up at her children's school. Danielle went to the police and filed for a restraining order. But as is too often the case, that piece of paper didn't stop Marcus Hale. On a chilly November evening, Danielle returned home from work just after 10 p.m. Her children were already asleep upstairs, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. She didn't notice the figure sitting in the shadows across the street. Marcus had been waiting for hours, seething, his anger boiling over. He had seen Danielle post a smiling picture earlier that day, out at lunch with a coworker, and in Marcus's mind, that meant betrayal. Danielle walked to her front door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. Before she could even set her purse down, she heard a knock on the door. When she opened it, there stood Marcus, eyes bloodshot, breathing hard. Danielle froze. She told him to leave, that he wasn't supposed to be there. But Marcus stepped inside, forcing his way into her home. What happened next would send shockwaves through the quiet neighborhood. Marcus and Danielle argued, their voices growing louder, waking the children upstairs. Danielle grabbed her phone and tried to call 911, but Marcus slapped it out of her hand. Neighbors later reported hearing Danielle screaming at him to get out, to leave her alone. But Marcus wasn't listening. In those final, terrifying moments, Danielle made one last plea. She told him she would never go back to him, that their relationship was over, that he needed to move on. And those words, those simple, defiant words, set Marcus off. He pulled a handgun from his waistband and fired. The first shot struck Danielle in the chest. Then another, and another. She fell to the floor as her children ran downstairs, screaming. By the time police arrived, Marcus was gone. Danielle lay in the entryway of her home, unresponsive. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, but the damage was too severe. At 11:32 p.m., Danielle Foster was pronounced dead. This case could have ended there, another tragedy, another statistic. But what happened next turned everything upside down. Marcus thought he had escaped, thought no one had seen him. But Danielle's oldest son, just 12 years old, had grabbed his mother's phone after Marcus fled. The screen was cracked, but the camera had been recording. Unbeknownst to Marcus, the final confrontation had been captured on video. Danielle's last words, her bravery, the moment Marcus pulled the trigger, all of it was evidence. When investigators watched the video, they knew exactly what they had. Within 24 hours, an arrest warrant was issued for Marcus Hale. U.S. Marshals tracked him to a motel 2 towns away, where he was found hiding in the bathroom with the gun still in his possession. Marcus was taken into custody without incident, but the trial that followed would expose a side of him few had seen. In court, prosecutors played Danielle's final moments for the jury. The video was gut-wrenching. The sound of her pleading for her life, the gunshots, the screams of her children. Jurors wept. Even seasoned detectives struggled to watch. The defense tried to claim Marcus acted in a crime of passion, that he never intended to kill Danielle. But the video told a different story. The calm, deliberate way he raised the gun, the pause between each shot, it painted a picture of rage and control, not fear. After just 6 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. Marcus Hale was found guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, aggravated burglary, and endangering children. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Danielle's family wept as the sentence was read, but there was a sense of justice, a sense that Danielle's voice had been heard even in death. Her story is a chilling reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the courage it takes to walk away. It shows that even when an abuser believes they have the final word, the truth has a way of speaking for itself. Danielle may have been underestimated, mistreated, and silenced, but in the end, her strength and the evidence she left behind brought her killer to justice. But here's where this story takes a dark and unexpected turn. Because just when Danielle's family thought the nightmare was over, they received news that would shake them all over again. Something had happened inside the prison where Marcus was being held, and it would force them to relive every painful memory of that night. What happened behind those prison walls? And how could it change the case forever? When Marcus Hale was sentenced to life without parole, Danielle's family finally felt some relief. Justice had been served, or so they thought. But just 3 months into Marcus's sentence, everything changed. Either way, he was transferred to a maximum security unit for his own protection. For Danielle's family, the news was complicated. Some saw it as karma, others felt no satisfaction at all. After all, no amount of pain inflicted on Marcus would bring Danielle back. But the case was far from over. Just weeks later, Marcus stunned the courtroom by filing an appeal. He claimed that new evidence proved he acted in self-defense. His lawyers argued that the video recording was incomplete, that it didn't capture the moments leading up to the shooting. They claimed Danielle had threatened him with a knife earlier that night, and that Marcus only fired because he feared for his life. This move outraged Danielle's family, who had to sit through another painful court process. Prosecutors argued that the evidence was overwhelming. Marcus had violated a restraining order, broken into Danielle's home, and fired multiple shots at close range. But the appeals court ruled that Marcus's conviction would stand. However, a new evidentiary hearing was scheduled to review his claims. When the hearing began, the courtroom was once again packed. The prosecution replayed Danielle's final video for the judge. But this time, Marcus's defense team produced something shocking. They revealed security camera footage from a neighbor's home that showed Marcus standing outside Danielle's house hours before the shooting, pacing back and forth, appearing agitated. The footage also showed Danielle stepping outside at one point and speaking to him. No audio was available, but the defense claimed this exchange supported Marcus's claim that Danielle had been aggressive first. The judge allowed the hearing to proceed, but reminded the defense that Marcus was the one who brought a loaded gun to Danielle's home. As the hearing dragged on, the emotional toll on Danielle's children became unbearable. Her oldest son, the one who had found the recording, broke down in tears on the stand, saying he still had nightmares about the night his mother was killed. Then came a bombshell twist no one saw coming. A prison informant stepped forward, claiming Marcus had confessed to him in detail, not only about killing Danielle, but about planning it for weeks. The informant claimed Marcus had told him he knew Danielle was going to reject him, that he had waited for the right night when she'd be alone. Prosecutors immediately moved to introduce this testimony into the hearing, but the defense objected, arguing the informant was unreliable. Tension filled the courtroom as the judge considered the motion. If the testimony was admitted, Marcus's fate would be sealed. But if it was thrown out, there was a slim chance his sentence could be reduced. The hearing was adjourned until the following week. As Danielle's family left the courthouse, they were met with shouting reporters and flashing cameras. Danielle's mother clutched a framed photo of her daughter, tears streaming down her face. "This man took my baby from me," she said, her voice breaking. "And now he wants sympathy? He's already taken everything from us." But this story isn't over yet, because just days before the next hearing, Marcus Hale vanished from custody. Authorities say he was last seen during a routine transfer between prison units, and what happened next left investigators stunned. When news broke that Marcus Hale had escaped custody, panic spread across Columbus. Local schools went on lockdown, police flooded the streets, and Danielle's family was placed under immediate protective watch. Authorities feared Marcus had only one thing on his mind: revenge. The U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force joined the manhunt within hours. They traced Marcus's movements through surveillance cameras, spotting him at a gas station just 15 miles from the prison, wearing civilian clothes and carrying a stolen backpack. Investigators believed he had help from the outside, possibly from a relative who still believed he was innocent. For 3 days, the city held its breath. Tips poured in from across Ohio, sightings of a man matching Marcus's description walking along highways, hiding in wooded areas, and even knocking on doors in rural neighborhoods. Police warned the public that Marcus was armed and extremely dangerous. Then, on the 4th day, a breakthrough came. A farmer outside Zanesville called 911 after spotting a man lurking in his barn late at night. When deputies arrived, they found Marcus hiding under a pile of hay, exhausted, disoriented, and still carrying the same handgun he used to kill Danielle. After a tense standoff, Marcus finally surrendered. This time, there would be no appeals, no second chances. Marcus was charged with escape, weapons violations, and threatening witnesses from prison. At his final sentencing hearing, Danielle's children stood together, their voices steady but emotional. Her oldest son looked directly at Marcus and said, "You tried to silence my mom, but you couldn't silence her truth. And you can't silence us." The judge sentenced Marcus Hale to an additional 25 years to be served consecutively with his life sentence, ensuring he would never see freedom again. Danielle's family could finally breathe, knowing he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Danielle's story is heartbreaking, but it is also a powerful reminder. A reminder that leaving an abusive partner can be the most dangerous time in a victim's life, but also that courage, persistence, and truth can still lead to justice. Even when the odds seem stacked against you, even when your voice is almost stolen, there is power in refusing to give up. And now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe justice was fully served in this case? Should Marcus have been given the possibility of parole? Or was life without parole the only fair sentence? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you found this story powerful and want more true crime breakdowns just like this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. This is Behind Crime Scene, where we bring you the cases that can't be forgotten and the voices that refuse to stay silent.